goal from the 9. Carr throws into traffic. Intercepted. The Bengals have the ball. They are running it back. Sam Hubbard.
Stanford Jennings is going to go all the way. When it comes down, the Bengals are champions.
Now the Bengals Super Bowl chances rest on his right foot. The kick is up. It is good.
Today, Bengal fans, here we gather, talking football back for year 5. We're covering all things Houday Nation. We're glad you joined us here tonight. Special guests, past and present players. You never know who you might see. One thing that's for sure, it's all things Bengals. And it all goes back to charity. We at Talking Football want to thank you for joining us for the show tonight. By the fans, for the fans, until the very end. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends. It's Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends.
Happy Tuesday evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Talking Football with Bengal Jim and friends. And guys, get ready to type in as many comments and your concerns about the team. We're going to hit that here in a little bit, give you a quick rundown. We're going to hit the Monday night tailgate from yesterday, an amazing pregame, even though in the rain. We're going to talk about state of the Bengals, guys. We need your input on this. 0-3, guys. We're going to talk about a lot of things. What's going on here? A quick charity update. Tony's going to give us an update on that. The Charlotte game and the Charlotte tailgate we're going to talk about. An amazing crowd still heading to Charlotte. And at 8:30, we have John Erardi, a Cincinnati sports columnist, that wrote an amazing article a few months back about Ken Anderson being in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That vote is coming up sometime here in October. We're going to dig into that conversation at 8:30. But, guys, let's kick it off here. I mean, I don't know where we want to start, but James and Tom and Tony, all of us were in attendance yesterday. It was a beautiful pregame, but the game, unbelievable.
First of all, we would be remiss without telling our favorite, one of our favorite Canadians. We got another one in the chat. Happy birthday! He is out enjoying a birthday dinner with his family in Cincinnati. So, Jamie, happy birthday from everybody, and hope dinner is going well. I think I'm going to put this up. That's one extreme. And then there's the optimistic stream in the chat. I think you can look at it a couple different ways of negative or, hey, there's been positives to take away from the first 3 games. Certainly there's things that we need to improve on, but there's a lot of football left, and let's see what happens. Tom?
Jimmy said happy Tuesday. You just said happy birthday. There's not a damn thing to be happy about today. Not one damn thing. We're 0-3. We lost to New England and we lost to Washington. And in all due respect, both those teams came in with outstanding game plans. Washington outcoached us last night in a game of chess. They were always a move ahead. Their offense was always a move ahead of our defense. We got a lot to look. I mean, as fans, we've got a lot to look and talk about. But, I mean, last night, there was nothing good. We had players that we count on very much who we may have overestimated as players. We have players that I think are going to be here for a long time. They're going to be big-time contributors, and they're damn good players now that are not playing well right now. Big plays are happening against the Bengals, and I'll even take all of us to task because after about the first 5-6 minutes of the game, and that was, I think, the quickest first quarter that I ever remember. It was like 26 minutes long. Paycor is like somebody let the air out of it. And I know we feed off the team, but, we were not in it all that much until the very end, as our song goes. So there's a lot wrong, a lot that can be fixed. But what I'm worried about is what can't be fixed.
Right.
And what is reality is 0-3. Now, there's still 14 games Joe Burrow said last night, we haven't played any division games yet. All that's true. But some things have got to change. And they've got to change right now. And it's a short week before Charlotte and a certain redhead that loves to make goofy signs up to the stands when he beats us and has been pretty good at giving us trouble since he left here and looked awful good yesterday. So it's not a question of we'll see, we'll wait for this guy to get back from injury. No. And yeah, the injuries are a factor, but they've got to fix things now. They have got to fix things and win Sunday and look a lot better as a team doing it.
We're with you. So everybody that's watching right now, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, we're going to do our best. I need you to type in what your issues, your concerns, what you want to hit on, what topics, what you want to talk about this team. So James and I will try to flag those, and we're going to, in about 5 or 10 minutes here, we're going to dig into the conversation about what the hell is going on with this team and what your concerns are. But before we get into that, let's go and bring Tony on, James, and let's get a quick charity update, man. It's another amazing year with charity focus. Tony, what's up, buddy?
Who day?
Hey, if anybody was at the game yesterday, there was, I think, 8 challengers to Ronnie who were chugging the beers. The one that came the closest to beating that dude was a non-beer drinker. Tony the Tiger came this close to beating that guy. But Tony, I was proud of you, buddy. You did a hell of a job.
Yeah, a couple more years younger, I might have been able to take him maybe.
Hey, Tony, you have antlers growing out of your head.
Yeah, it's a deer head back there.
All right, I'm sorry.
I'm in my office, so a couple deer heads hanging on the wall. Hey, so charity update, right? We're getting used to saying this, but we didn't win the game, but we definitely won the tailgate. From a charity perspective, we were hosting Cincinnati Music Accelerator, which is a great organization and supporter of ours. They're the ones that help us with the stage and sounding system that we have at our tailgates. Also, they travel to our away tailgates and provide the equipment for us. So it's very good to be able to help those guys out as well. So overall, for the tailgate, it was over $1,500 that we raised for them. So that was a good effort, even with all the rain and everything that was going on. And then, so with all that being said, with the tailgate's total charity, we are at $99,914 for the year, and it's week 3. So we might be 0-3 as a team, but we are definitely doing well from a charity perspective.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. I know, like you said, Tony, yesterday the rain really kind of prevented us from maybe doing more for CMA yesterday, but that's a pretty damn good number, even in that rain yesterday. So.
Yeah, and then we got our Charlotte tailgate coming up, which our charity is going to be Holy Angels there. So looking forward to supporting those folks at an away game. Got a lot of good things going on. I'm sure you guys are going to talk about in a little bit about Charlotte. Also, we have our duck race is going to be coming back. So October 15th will be our first duck race. So we'll be sharing that link as well. And that is going to be for the Fulcher MS Foundation that they are a supporter of. So we got some cool prizes. I think we're doing a SWAT team signed football and a SWAT team pylon as well as the prizes for that. So it's going to be a good package for that to kick us off for our duck races.
Yep, missed the duck races. Tom's been practicing the duck races for the last 4 or 5 months, so he's ready to go. And then
just one last point, we're very excited about this year, keeping track of our 500,000 milestone. So with this past week's totals, we are just about $3,500 away from reaching that 500,000 mark. So very proud of that and what we've been able to accomplish. And it's all because of Who Dey Nation and everyone who's involved in supporting our efforts here.
Yeah, this platform, guys, I mean, has been the social media platform, the tailgate has been able to really help elevate what we've been doing on a charity thing. Has been absolutely amazing and been fun to use to help others for sure. James, I'm sorry I interrupted you, I think.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, let's blast through that number at Charlotte. The out-of-town tailgates are always so much fun. So many out-of-town people that don't get a chance to come back to Cincy and just to be able to hang with 1,500 plus Bengal fans pregame. Sunday, in our lot. Tickets are available. We'll try to get the link up in the chat for that. And then also for Saturday, our friends at Protagonist, great facility, just mere 5 minutes from downtown. Inside, outside seating, great food. Mike and his crew. Mike, originally a Cincy native, is the owner of that place, so he's looking forward to hosting us Saturday at 5. Here's Megan, the local fan club president in Charlotte of Bengals fans. They're going to be there, and just appreciate all that help. But no reason why we can't blast through that 3,500 mark that we need to get to that 500,000 mark, in
Right.
September, just 4 weeks into the season. So
Great. Tony, talk about it. We had some more Tony's tickets for kids yesterday, but we have a first coming up here in Charlotte, right?
That's right. So, we were able to host 4 children to their first game yesterday for Monday Night Football. They were all excited. But we're going to branch out a little bit, and we're going to send a first kid to their first Bengals game, but it's going to be an away game. So it's going to be in Charlotte. I was lucky enough to find a local avid Bengals fan, 6 years old. Her name's Reese, and she is very excited to be able to see her first Bengals game in her hometown of Charlotte. So looking forward to that. So it should be a good time. And with that, it's going to be over, 160 kids in 3 years that we've been able to help get kids to their first game. So it's pretty cool. It's one of those special things, like you said earlier, Jimmy, with our platform and what we're able to do with this. It's just awesome to be able to introduce those future fans. And as I always say, they're the future fans, and I'm a fan of fans. So I just love having the opportunity to send kids to their first game.
That's awesome, Tony. It's just so fun to see those kids' faces smiling ear to ear for 2 reasons. One, to get to go to their first game, but they see Tony for the first time, all Tony'd up, man. And it's kind of fun watching their expression. Some of the littler kids kind of look at Tony and hide behind mom and dad, and then gradually kind of gravitate toward him. And then the older kids just big smile ear to ear when they see Tony the Tiger. But Tony, we appreciate you, buddy. I know you're going to get off, but we'll be talking again, and I'll see you in Charlotte, buddy. Looks like his phone just messed up.
He took that very literally.
All right, real quick, let's
for everything, and again, Cincinnati Music Accelerator was our beneficiary last week, and as Tony mentioned, Holy Angels this week in Charlotte. So look forward to helping Holy Angels, and thank you to everyone that helped kick. It was another Evan McPherson leg lamp, I think, in that Super Bowl helmet where the two different players from.
We got some. And I forgot to tell Tony, I got another box of stuff today at work that will get us through probably most of the rest of the year with these charity drawings. But let's go through some pictures yesterday and talk a little bit about the tailgate yesterday. James, I'll just pop up some pictures. You can say whatever you want, man, here. But the rain didn't prevent people from showing up and showing out at the tailgate.
No, it was so much fun. We did have a little rain delay, but kudos to you. I think previous life, you must have been a dance coordinator. Would you have him out there doing the chicken dance? You had him out there doing the Tootsie Roll. What else? I mean,
the Cupid Shuffle.
Fans, Cupid Shuffle out there. So, the fans were not flinching because of the rain, and, somebody stuck around. It was a little bit more intense than what we thought. You can see some pictures there of the Trailer Park Floozies that had to put their set on hold, but we fired it back up and kept the party going, and so much fun. I think, what do we have? So was it somebody from Egypt, Israel that was there?
Oh, yeah, I didn't even put that on there. We had Israel, England, Germany, Scotland, and a boatload of folks from Canada, which I did not load this video, but I think I put it on our Twitter. I'm not sure if I put it on Facebook, social media platform for the tailgate. We had a group, I don't know, James, what do you think, about 20 Canadians that grabbed the mic and sung "Oh Canada."
I missed that part. When did that happen?
Oh man, I gotta find that video. I'll try to find it. It was awesome. It was awesome. But I'm gonna play this video. So I know there's a lot of people that don't get a chance to get down to the tailgate, right? But this is what it looked like in a rainy day pregame. That doesn't even count all the people we had in the park. So people were having a blast still. It was fun. It was people came down there. They were going to, even though it started raining, I mean, they were having a good time. They were going to make it a good time regardless.
Definitely. Even Tom made an appearance down there.
He did.
30 minutes. Jamie was there. The what else did we have? We had the beer chugging guy. What'd you say his name was?
Ronnie. I forget Ronnie Deutschel or something like that. Guys, I posted videos on that, I think, on all of our platforms, but I've never seen anything like that, James. It was straight gulp done.
What was his name?
Ronnie Deutschel or something like that. Ronnie was his first name.
That's a Cincinnati brewmaster name, if there ever was one.
He said the closest anybody's ever come to beating him was at the Ohio State game last week. He was at Syracuse. He was at, but he'd never been in front of that many people doing that. So he was very excited. Usually just stops, puts a table up around a tailgate with a group of people and challenges it. But the challenge was, if he beats you, you pay $20 to the charity we had yesterday. But if you beat him, he was going to give you $100. He wound up giving that $100 to charity, and I think it was maybe a couple $100, something like that, $200 that went to CMA yesterday for the charity stuff. But I don't think we need to wait anymore. I think we've got a lot of people want to talk about this game and the state of the Bengals. But before we do, remember, we still have a chance.
What are my chances? Not good. You mean not good like 1 out of 100? I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000. So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah! What are my chances?
So the chances are 2.5% chance of making the playoffs after starting 0-3. That stat's been taken since 1990. So everybody that's in the room, let's just open it up. Let's take the Band-Aid off. Let's talk about this, guys. Where do we want to start? I got a bunch of notes on this thing, but I'd really let me do this. Let's talk about the good things here first, because we got to get into why we're 0-3. Guys, 33 points. You're supposed to win a game. 33 points scored on offense. Burrow had 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, 6.2 yards a rush yesterday. 33 points. You're not supposed to lose a game, period. Now, the other side of the ball, guys, was catastrophic. So where are you going to start? Start with a fan, Tom, James. Well, let's go.
Yeah, here's Jake. A lot of stuff in the chat about the defense. Tom, I'll let you respond to Jake's comment here.
I don't think the defense has been inconsistent. I don't think they've been good all year. I think they had their best against Kansas City, but we've got problems on the defensive line, and it goes more than just guys being hurt. That is a consideration. But all 3 teams we've played against have been able to run up the middle on us, whether guys are healthy or not. The pass rush is non-existent with the exception of Trey Hendrickson. And eventually an offensive coordinator is going to figure out you need to double him or chip him every single pass play. I saw a stat today that just blew me away. Our left defensive end, on average, when the Commanders threw yesterday, was 6.2 yards away from him, away from the quarterback. So Sam Hubbard, who was there most of the time, was 6.2 yards away from the quarterback when he threw. Now, everybody out there, you're looking at 3 decrepit old men on the screen right now. We could have stood at left defensive end and put our hands up and moved a little bit into the passing lane and been more effective than that. There's no pass rush, but they're compensating a little bit. I will say this. I thought after halftime, they clamped down on the run pretty well. I thought Jermaine Pratt is tough as all get out. Logan Wilson's okay. We're a little slow and unathletic overall on defense. I don't think Von Bell had his best game. Cam Taylor-Britt is a franchise corner. He is a shutdown corner. I hope he's here, the next 8-9 years, and he's going to go to a lot of Pro Bowls. You can't get past the fact, though, and even though one of them was Mahomes, he's gotten fried for long touchdowns each of the last 2 weeks. That's the kind of stuff that loses you a game. Dax Hill, he's improving. Maybe he's our best effort at cornerback. When the game was on the line, he couldn't cover his man on that long touchdown pass, in the end zone. And again, I love the guy. But, we've got top draft picks that are not performing. I think, like I said before, I think we've got guys that we have put on a pedestal that may not be as good as we think or want them to be. And we've got some guys underperforming. And in a game of chess, the Redskins were a move ahead of us all night last night. And hey, all congratulations. What a performance by a quarterback in his third game in the league. 21 of 23. That's superhuman. But there was no pass rush. It was always there when he needed it to be there. I thought the offense was good tonight. In fact, I'll say the last 3 games, Joe Burrow may have been protected better the last 3 games than any 3 games consecutively in his Bengal career. The line's doing great. They opened up holes last night. Not the best defense in the world, but we were able to run the ball a little bit. The receivers are coming into fashion. We're dropping some passes we need to get to. But, the offense looked fine. But the defense is abysmal. And I'll tell you what, Baltimore's going to come into town. Pittsburgh's going to come into town twice. They love to run the ball up the middle. There is still a chance, but they got to figure it out on the fly. And I don't know if we have time to wait for guys to get healthy.
Yeah, it's we got Sheldon Rankins, B.J. Hill, Miles Murphy. None of these guys. We got to get these guys back there. I think we were thin there to begin with. DJ Reader, man, is he missed more than we thought. At the end of the day, here Rankins is more of a rush interior lineman there, but we got to get Rankins and B.J. Hill, Miles Murphy, and I hope these first 3 games for Sam Hubbard is, God bless you, man. Everybody loves this guy, but man,
I love him.
Yeah, it just hasn't looked good.
You bring up the DJ Reader point, and he got injured last year, and I want to say not only did we win some games without him, but also won with our backup quarterback. It's the NFL. You're going to lose guys to free agency. But I think when you look at the defense from a bigger picture, a 30,000-foot view, you got to look at the draft, and that just becomes more important now as you're paying our franchise quarterback $50 million, our star wide receiver $30+ million next year. You go back and look at Zach Taylor's drafts, Miles Murphy. The jury's still out. I think it's too early to say whether that was a good or bad pick. Dax Hill, a first rounder. Who knows on that? DJ Turner, a second rounder. Cam Taylor-Britt, a second rounder. Jordan Battle, who was top in the league last year in safety position, playing in the back there. He's been non-existent this year. We talked about Dejon Anthony after the Kansas City game. I don't know how Jordan Battle's gone from a quality safety piece in last year's defense, not even sniffing the field.
Yeah, let's I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to talk about that a little bit more detail, guys. It is obvious Jordan Battle's in the doghouse for whatever reason. For him not to be on the field is unbelievable. But I don't know if coaches, something's going on there, but the Jordan Battle is obviously in the doghouse, guys.
Yeah, and it's it hurts. That again, we're relying on that draft to supplement the defense because of such a heavy investment on that offensive side. Obviously, Trey's the highest paid. We just paid, extended Logan, extended Jermaine Pratt. But again, going back to that defense, if you look back the last 4 years under Zach Watch, third rounder Logan Wilson is probably the best piece that we've drafted. We've also had third round misses in Zach Carter. What was it? Tyler Sheldon, a fourth rounder that we took out of LSU, not even in the league anymore. And then you can progress on back. But hey, Lou was. Remember, after what was it, 2 years ago, Lou was the finalist for the Arizona job that ended up going to the Eagles. Obviously, he's thought of in the league. It's just I don't know what's going on. We're not going to fire the whole team. We're not going to fire coaches right now, but it's a time to dig deep and figure out what this team's made of. And as many have said, it's you got to get the train on the tracks starting Sunday in Charlotte, coming off a short week. Tom, what am I forgetting?
The one thing is if we didn't end up signing Jamar Chase, we didn't end up, using some of that salary cap capital that we had with the intention of extending and signing some guys. Had I known that, we should have kept DJ Reader. We didn't, and the very strong philosophy is down there, no massive third contracts for guys. But I think they miss his leadership more than anything else. They need his voice right now. Joe Burrow's the leader of the team, and he's a damn good leader by all accounts. But I don't know if he's in the defensive meetings holding guys to account, pointing fingers. That was DJ Reader. I don't know who that guy is right now. They don't have a Joe Burrow, a Ray Lewis type right now. And, they need one. So I don't know who that is. Hopefully today was a good day of reflection and explanation. I really thought after the Kansas City game, things were kind of back in order, but boy, were they not last night. And some credit does go to the Commanders. Incredible game plan, incredible execution of it. They did what they wanted when they wanted to and when they needed to. But looking back that last drive, they had a false start. Then Trey had a sack. And they still got a first down. They went from 2nd and 21 to converting a first down with the game on the line. And,
Can't happen.
No.
You got to get off the field. No punts by either team. No turnovers by either team. First time since 1940, some crazy, I think that was the number that I read. I'm going to go back. You made a good point there, Tom, on there doesn't seem to be a captain on defense type thing. The whole reason I was excited about Von Bell coming back, I thought that was the guy. Maybe he is. I don't know. But I thought he was that guy. But I don't – look, I'm a fan just like everybody else. I'm watching on TV. I'm watching replays. I'm watching film. And I'm watching the game while I'm in the stadium. But Von Bell just doesn't seem right either. He seems slow, which is – I don't like saying that.
There's more reason why Jordan Battle's not playing.
Exactly. So everybody that's in the chat area, just whatever you want to say. I know we got a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of comments going on, but we can keep digging into this. The other thing I wanted to hit on too real quick, guys, Trent Brown being down, he's out for the season, guys. Right tackle's done. He hasn't had a stellar first 3 games anyhow, 2.5 games. Mims came in. I didn't see his numbers, his PFF numbers, but I know he had a couple little mistakes early, but I think he played pretty well the rest of the game, but we'll see.
He played pretty well. He gave up a sack, but he did okay. He's going to – I think we're set there. I think as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be a heck of a tackle for us.
I'm with you.
I think that's you hate to see anybody get hurt, but getting Amarius these snaps here early in his career, I think is gonna help him to come in cold and step in. I think that's going to be the least of our problems as we look forward. There's somebody in the chat asking about Trenton Irwin, and Tom and I discussed this at lunch today. Inactive. That's probably the first time in God knows how long. Let's be honest, he struggled to start the year, but was listed as inactive on the chart. Yoshivas made plays once again. So kudos to him. T getting his feet wet, made a couple. I would thought, quite frankly, they would double team Jamar more. But with Jamar having 2 touchdowns, I thought, the receivers, end of the day, are the least of our worries right now. Has been the topic here the last 10 minutes. Defense is where we need to improve on. I think you were doing the calculations earlier, Jimmy. Was it over 5 yards we got running the ball?
Yeah, 6.2 yards a carry we had on offense. I mean, that's solid as hell. I'm sorry, this will be the last thing, and I want other people popping stuff up on here, man. But Lou Anarumo to get creative at this point because we obviously have holes in the middle of that defense. I don't know how you fix it. I'm not an NFL head coach. I coach youth football for 20 years. But we've got to figure out a way.
I do have faith in Lou Anarumo to get as much out of these guys as he can. I don't mean to say sound that at all, but something's got to change. I mean, that was as abysmal a defensive showing by this franchise
ever
since some listless performances back in the 90s. That was bad. There was no reason to have any faith in them as a unit last night, and they're damn good players that we love on that team. But
Tom, what was crazy was just like the high that we had at the tailgate, how fun it was. We walk into the stadium. The Bengals did an outstanding job. The light show, the crowd was just amped. I mean, like you said, beginning of the game, it was crazy. End of the game, it was crazy. The Ring of Honor. I mean, it was very well done. And unfortunately,
didn't end. I think we shared a couple of videos on a couple of reels on the social media page. If you go back and watch those, that kudos to the crowd. That place was electric and loud to start the game. From introductions to that first Jamar Chase touchdown, it was crazy. Paycor was rocking. It was loud. And, unfortunately, Washington did a good job of taking the fans out of it, doing a lot of running, slowing the game down. But for them to answer, and, again, I mean, kudos to Jaden Daniels, might be the best quarterback in the draft. And, Washington's got a whole new coaching staff.
Let me ask you real quick, James. That's a great point. If you're a Chicago Bears fan right now, are you thinking you got the best quarterback in the draft?
I think you question it right now for sure. No doubt about that. I think Chicago's been questioning that for how long now, Fields and even before that, I think the knock on Jaden Daniels was his size. Can he handle the NFL? Can he, with those body hold up? And, he did what they needed to do. The one thing I thought we would have saw more, and, we put up 30 plus points, was Washington secondaries ranked at the bottom of the NFL, like dead last. Yeah. And, while we threw for some touchdowns, it wasn't enough despite the no punts and all that. I was talking to
30 freaking points. Gosh damn, got to win.
That's, we're ripping on the defense. Let's let that special teams walk.
Special teams. Oh, that was.
We lost. We missed a field goal, and then we let them, run back a kick to I think our 40 to start things off in the second half. And I mean, it just, it was something was misfiring, and I don't know that quick meeting Joe and Zach had after the game in the coach's wing at Paycor before they went in and talked to the team. I hope Joe looked at him and said, if it's going to be like this, if we're over half, we're in enemy territory, we're over the 50-yard line, on fourth down, we have to go for it every time. And they probably do.
That's a great point.
It's going to be like that. I mean,
there's been a lot of speculation about that, and what happens. I think this is the first time we're seeing Joe go into that coach's locker room with Zach and not into the players' locker room. And there's been banter back and forth. What was discussed? Why was it so urgent? It was done right there. I don't see Joe going in and blaming it on the defense. I think Joe, being the leader that he is, took it upon himself to maybe offer a suggestion on how to help the offense. He's frustrated as any fan out there, probably 10 times. So, I don't see him going in there slamming Lou, getting mad at the defense. I think it was as a leader of the team, good for him for going in there and talking to Zach and whatever it was. And I'm sure it was circled back to today. And, I think we'll be better for it. But, it is interesting. And I don't know if we'll ever know the truth of what was discussed, but I think it was probably more on my shoulders.
Hey, guys, real quick, I'm going to log. I think John's a little confused on how to log in. My phone's at 3%. So, James, you can take me off the screen. I'm going to go ahead and call him real quick.
All righty. All right, Tom, let's, the bright side, we did touch on the running backs last night. I think Chase had a nice long run. I think Zach had a shifty move. I think it was maybe like a screen out of the backfield where he just juked a defender right out of his shorts. So that was a highlight. Anything else you thought that we did well? We can sit here and harp on the negatives all night, but I think even if looking at it from a coaching staff, hey, this is what we did good. This is what we need to take to the next level as we go to Charlotte.
Well, I think in all 3 games this year, the offensive line has done a good job protecting Joe. I haven't seen the PFF grades for yesterday, but we were talking about earlier when we were doing some show prep that left to right last night, they did a pretty good job protecting him. Yes, when Mims went in, he did give up a sack. There are going to be rookie moments at any position, and even John Alt, who's been all world according to everybody the first 3 weeks, he got smoked a couple times this weekend. So there are going to be times in this rookie year that people get back Mims, but I thought he did a very good job. I thought it was the best our guards looked on pass protection and in the running game. And, and then you go to the left tackle position. He may still not have given up a pressure this year. I think Orlando Brown Jr. still has not given up a pressure this year. He's playing at a Pro Bowl, if not all pro level. We keep losing. He's not going to get the recognition he deserves, but he's doing fantastic at left tackle. So, again, we're wasting great time. We're wasting a year of Joe. We're wasting good play by Joe and great play, as good a play as we've had in years from the offensive line.
100%. And I think, the slow start excuse, all right, we're 3 games in. Let's drop that out now. The Jamar Chase thing, that's behind us. I think what he did last night was unbelievable. And third point is, again, to put up 33 points, we need to win that game. We've beaten that down. In the chat here, you're talking about how do you hold Mahomes to 150, 160 yards last week, and then let the rookie in his 3rd NFL game just look like an all-pro. So, I think we'll get it fixed. I think stay positive. It's not the end of the world, but certainly there's going to be some interesting meetings down at Paycor this week.
So, guys, let's go ahead and John is in the waiting room right now, so he's connected. So, Tom, go ahead and do the introduction for John.
Well, we've got a great Cincinnati writer, versatile on sports, makes a lot of sense, logical, and seems to be so often with the media here in Cincinnati. He is one hell of a lot better than just about anybody you'll find in the national media. He did a great article to start the season on Ken Anderson's argument to get into the Hall of Fame. So, John Erardi, welcome to Bengal Jim and Friends.
I'll pop him on. His name says Ken Anderson. We know this isn't Ken Anderson.
Really?
Erardi.
That's not Ken Anderson. He doesn't have a beer.
John.
He's not holding a beer.
Hi, guys. How's it going? Well, I'm having a cup of tea. I wish I were having a beer.
John, hey, thanks for being with us tonight, buddy. So we've got quite a few viewers right now live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube watching, and a lot of people are excited to see it come on the show. So, Tom, go get kicked off. Any questions you guys have in the chat area right now? Pop them in. And we're talking Ken Anderson. We're talking Hall of Fame, just like we've been doing for many, many years. Jungle to the Hall. We feel there's a really good chance Kenny gets in this year, but type in those questions. We'll try to get to as many of those we can with John as we can. So, Tom, go ahead and fire away, bud.
John, as you wrote that article, which was outstanding, though, if you're talking to one of the voters, what do you tell them is the reason Ken Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame? We'll forgive them for all their idiot omissions these past decades, but if you're talking to them, how do you explain to them and make the case to them that Kenny belongs in Canton?
Well, the biggest thing I'd say is, in comparing him to other guys already in the Hall of Fame, is that he has a very good ratio of passes to completions and yards per attempt, which tells me he was throwing down the field a lot, completing a lot of long passes. And also the fact that they won a lot. I think there's a tendency to think that this was a dink and dunk type offense, which it really wasn't. I mean, these guys got the ball downfield, and his percentages and ratios match up very well with all the guys already in the hall. I mean, you name them, he's right there with them. It's not like I'm comparing him to the least of those enshrinees. I'm comparing him to everybody. He's got a great case, and he should be in the Hall of Fame.
James?
John, appreciate you joining us here tonight. And this is something when we have a lot of the writers come on, it's a question that we ask, try to get your opinion. What's your thoughts on being in the small Cincinnati market versus the Dallas, the New York, the big cities out west? How much has that hurt Ken in this whole process?
I think it's incredibly influential because all the time I spent covering all the sports, but especially baseball, because I'm a voting member of the Hall of Fame, I can see how it impacted guys like Tony Perez. It's interesting. I was having a conversation with Mike Brown, of all people, about the subject of Tony Perez, and he felt as though Tony would be in the Hall of Fame if he were in New York City. And I agree. Mike's a great baseball fan, and we've had good discussions on this subject. And there's no doubt in my mind that had Ken been in a big market, he'd be in by now.
Yeah, with you. So John, we know the vote for the senior committee. A lot of changes going on. It's sometime in October. They never tell you the specific date that they're voting. But we feel pretty confident after talking to quite a few of the senior voters that vote is sometime in October, coming up here very soon. Kenny he was so close last year. We know he finished just outside the number that you needed to get into the Hall of Fame. But I mean, what do you think this year? I mean, we know he was close last year. Your thoughts this year on the vote, your opinion?
I think he has a real good chance getting in this year. Everything you've just said about the October vote is news to me, because at the time I wrote the story about Ken, I thought the vote would be in September sometime, but it really is a well-kept secret as to exactly when they're voting. So if you could discern October, that's news to me. And I just think that, I did see some interesting takes today on the more recent list of Hall of Famers, and I believe that guys like Eli Manning are going to get heavy consideration. But I never did see much about the seniors. But everything I'd read prior to writing my story was that he was either going to be the first or second guy in among the seniors. I say first or second guy in, I mean likely to get the most consideration. So he's right at the top of the list. And I think he's got a great chance. I have no idea, who's in the electorate or how they conduct their business. But if everything I'd read prior to writing that story holds true, he could be the next guy in, the next senior in. So I'm hoping that holds true.
Yeah, one more thing, Tom, I'll turn it over to you in a second. Just I think I want for clarity that everybody's watching right now. Willie Anderson is not in the senior committee. Okay, so we've got the senior committee right now. It is Ken Anderson we're focusing on, and then after that process is done, Willie Anderson is in a totally separate category. Tom, go ahead, buddy. Sorry, but I just wanted to make sure. I know people are texting me right now, not even putting in a chat area. Well, what about Willie? This is the senior committee. We're talking about Kenny. That vote got moved back. It is usually August, September. It has been moved back to October, we know. So we know this vote's coming up. We will hear after the vote, not when it is, but we'll hear after.
No, but John, I agree with you and James. Ken Anderson had an identical career to what he had and been a New York Jet, a New York Giant, a Chicago Bear, a Dallas Cowboy, dear God, even may I suggest a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Right.
Who, by the way, Jimmy and I have talked. We understand that a Iron City beer vendor from the 1970s at Three River Stadium was probably going to go in the Hall of Fame this next year with how they vote. But he'd have been in long ago. In you talking with some of the voters, we've had some on as guests. We've talked with some off the air. I'm amazed at some of the reasoning that we're told that Kenny is not in. And there have been some who've shrugged their shoulders and said, yep, he's a Hall of Famer. He just hasn't gone in yet. We have also heard, and this is one of my favorites, which is, he had a Hall of Fame career and he deserved to be in there. But when you say his name, do you think Hall of Famer right away? That was a beaut. Another one, when we talked to a voter and we said, well, he won 4 NFL passing titles, one of the elite numbers, and we were told no, he didn't. And the guy looked it up and said, oh, I'll be darned, he did. Well, I'll have to rethink that. What when you talk to guys, what are the reasons that you're told he isn't in yet?
The biggest reason, and I really consider this to be specious, is that he never won a Super Bowl. Well, there are other guys in the Hall of Fame who never won a Super Bowl. And the question is always not so much did you win a Super Bowl to me, but how did you play when your team was trying to make the playoffs, and how did you play once you made the playoffs? And Ken's record is great in both those categories. So the fact that the Bengals didn't win the championship in his one try, to me, should not condemn him. I mean, you always got to give some amount of weight to the surrounding cast, and they had a wonderful team. They probably should have won that game after a bad start. They were very much in it in the second half. There was a couple of plays they could have turned it the other way. So to really rule a guy out because he never won the big ring to me is ridiculous. And there's a lot of guys in there, who didn't win the big ring. And I think that the reason Eli Manning among the so-called active candidates, the more recent candidates, is at the top of that list is because I believe he won 2 Super Bowls. So, and his numbers are nowhere near what Ken Anderson's are. So I think you have to factor in anything. I'm very much chagrined to learn that somebody who was a voting member of the Hall of Fame, or at least arguing a case against Kenny Anderson, did not know that he'd won 4 passing titles. That to me is ridiculous. You got to know that stat. You got to know him that he won them decades apart. That again, he was a great thrower of the football downfield, really good athlete, ran the ball well, great leader. All those things should be factored in. But to not know that he won 4 passing titles, I mean, you should lose your vote for not knowing that. That's ridiculous.
The fact that he's not in the Hall of Fame for not winning a Super Bowl, so because a guy on 4th and 1 ran the wrong assignment, went the wrong way on a play, and Pete Johnson came up a foot short. But football's a game of inches. But because Pete Johnson was a foot short in the second half, trying to get in the end zone, we're going to deny Ken Anderson from going in. That just, Dan Fouts is in, Fran Tarkington's in, Dan Marino, one of the all-time greatest, he's in. He never won a Super Bowl. It makes absolutely no sense to me.
Yeah, and his numbers are right up there with all the guys. I remember when I wrote the story, every one of those guys' names came up, and he's right there with every one of them. And to me, that's what I go by. I mean, you have to look at the numbers. You just can't say on first blush either he is a Hall of Famer or he isn't. To be an informed writer, an informed voter, you've got to drill down and look at the numbers. They're definitely meaningful. And sometimes guys get elevated and sometimes they go down a few notches when you look at the number. But he only goes up in estimation when you look at his numbers. That's how good he was.
Yeah. John, your article was pretty powerful, bud. Just to let you know how powerful. We got it messaged to us from 3 different Hall of Fame senior voters. Your article was sent to us. So they saw it, they see it. I mean, the ones that we know, they know the history of Ken Anderson. They're behind Ken Anderson, but it's pretty powerful stuff when you write an article and they see it and they're sending it around, which is pretty cool stuff. But let's talk about it. We do believe we feel pretty confident Ken Anderson is going to get in. He was at the tailgate with us yesterday for several hours, him and Christy, and we had him do a toast. And John, you know, he had a beer in his hand. All right. So he was drinking some beers with us. But
Good.
But let's talk about some of these other guys. I mean, that, you know, it just kind of gets your opinion. Like, I'm going to stay in the senior committee here. I'm looking at my wall here, looking down here. Lemar Parrish, thank goodness Ken Riley finally got in. Isaac Curtis, Ken Anderson, these guys. The senior committee is where I'm staying there. But all these other guys these should be serious consideration around those guys I just mentioned as well.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the Iceman, Isaac Curtis, because that's my all-time favorite Bengal right there. I got to Cincinnati in 1974, and you know, to me, he was just a difference maker. Great speed, great stride, great hands, great yards after catch, and one of my, definitely my favorite Bengal of all time. Lemar Parrish, love him. Great to know that Ken Riley's in the Hall. You know, as Ken Anderson pointed out, if he is going to get in, if Kenny Anderson is going to get in, he'd like it to be while he's still walking and mobile and can play in the golf tournament and everything else. And I feel very strongly about that. One of my great laments is that guys don't get in while they're still alive. And I put that squarely on the voters' plates. They need to know who's around to enjoy this and who isn't. And I'm not saying you don't vote somebody in because they've passed. Certainly you do, and that would apply to Ken Riley. But my gosh, when a guy starts getting up there and into his 70s, you got to be aware of his physical situation. You got to put him in if you possibly can. If they're at all deserving, they should be in the Hall, and that definitely applies to Anderson. And even beyond, what he did on the field, the tremendous, I call him a Cincinnatian. I mean, we've adopted him. He's our own great representative of the city, lives here now, and has a tremendous foundation. All these things that make up an individual as well as their on-field performance. He checks every box. So for me, he should be in. And who are some of the other guys you mentioned besides the ones we talked about?
So I had Lemar Parrish, Isaac Curtis, or the other ones that we're kind of pushing for. You can't get all these guys in at one time, so we got to knock them off the list one at a time here. We got, fighting to get. I think we helped to get Ken Riley in as a fan base, help push that over.
Good.
Now we got to get Ken Anderson. I mean, I truly believe Lemar Parrish and Isaac Curtis have a very strong argument for being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many guys on the waiting list. I realize there's more players on a football field than there are on a baseball field, so I can't equate the two. But there just seems like in the Baseball Hall of Fame, there's fewer guys in waiting, and you seem to know more about the baseball players because there's only so many categories in which you can make a case for yourself. But in football, because of the nature of really, let's say, offensive linemen, it's hard to know exactly who did what, beyond what their team did. It's hard to know hard to quantify them in terms of their statistics. But with Ken Anderson, it's very easy to see. It's just like a baseball player. If you're looking at home runs and RBIs and on-base percentage, I mean, everything is right there for Ken. So for me, that's obvious. And you think about Ken the Rattler Riley. I mean, there's no way he should have had to wait this long. He was among the very best at his position, and there's a position where you can quantify with interceptions and everything else what a defensive back did. So for me, his absence is inexcusable. And I think for the same reason, Lemar Parrish should have a strong case, and obviously Ike Curtis should have a strong case. There's just no doubting their stats. Both are absolutely Hall of Fame category, but I think what happens is because of the size of the waiting list and uncertainty about the quantifications of each player's, because of the lack of statistics in that category, you have to factor in everything. And but for me, no doubt, Parrish and Ike should be in.
John, longtime fan, but it wasn't until I did some research tonight that I realized you were a fellow Paisan from upstate New York, Syracuse, to be specific. It's amazing how Syracuse always works its way into the show. Graduate of CBA, as you said, moved down here, went to Murray State. Not as good of a journalism and media school as Syracuse, but obviously that didn't matter for you, John. In your career, but pretty cool, and we thank you so much for joining us. For those that want to see your work, follow your work, obviously longtime writer for the Inquirer, where can fans find out about your work that you're doing now that things are slowing down, you're not at that full-time pace anymore?
Yeah, I mean, I have a good website up there. It's www.johnerardi, my name spelled out, .com. That'll take you to a lot of my writings. There's a site called, and I don't know how you access it. I just know I'm on it. It's called Muckrake. I think it's MUCKRAKE.com. That has all my recent stuff on there, if you can access me there. And I do some writing for Cincinnati Magazine. I do some writing for the National Baseball Hall of Fame magazine called Memories and Dreams. So those are some places to, find my work. I tend not to be too active on social media anymore because since I retired from the Cincinnati Enquirer, I haven't had to use social media. So I'm out playing golf and, as you mentioned, having a beer now and then, so I don't get too active, but I definitely watch all the local sports. Last night was obviously a heartbreaker for the Bengals, and the Reds have had a tough season. So, but I stick with all the home teams. I'm very much involved, and so yeah, that's where you can find my stuff.
From a writer's standpoint, and the one thing, again, this is a show by the fans for the fans. The one thing we've always tried to do is stay positive. There's so many deserving people that need to get in the Hall of Fame, and we're not here to slam somebody because Ken Anderson didn't get in or Ken Riley had to wait so long. From your wearing the kind of the journalism hat, what would be your message to the fans on what they can do besides, go on social media per se to get their voice as a whole in front of the writers to preach, hey, this guy's worthy because of this. What can they do? We got such a diverse fan base here in from Bengals fans. We were talking about it earlier, the international presence and fans all over the country. So what would be your word of advice to them on, hey, what can we do as we continue this push for these Bengal legends to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Well, it always helps to write to the voters. I think it's great to be active on this site. I was heartened to hear that I think 3 of the voters were aware that I did the article and it's been passed around. And frankly, that was my reason for doing the story. When I was approached with the idea by the editor of the Inquirer, not having written them in the 10 years since I was last there, I thought to myself, yeah, I can definitely get behind this case because I loved watching Ken play, and for me, I always like trying to make a difference. So that's the way I got involved, and I think that's the way any fan can get involved. Is just find out who the voters are, write to them, be active on this site, and just try to make the voters aware of some of the things they may not be. And this has happened to me in baseball, especially where I'm a voting member of the Hall of Fame. Is that there's a lot of things I'm not aware of. You cannot possibly know everything. The point is to know as much as you can, and then, learn the rest. Keep digging. Well, if somebody's not sending you articles or nuggets or interpolations of what a player did, there's really no way you can know it all. So just stay active and write and be active on sites like this, because I think the writers, the voters need to know more. They shouldn't be allowed to exist in a vacuum where they don't know what's going on. I mean, the thing is for me, and Pete Rose once said, well, either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. Well, yes and no. I mean, you see it all the time in baseball where people get more consideration as we become more aware of what numbers mean. And I definitely think that is true in football, especially for quarterbacks. You know, as the game changes, you have to be aware of what players are getting the ball in terms of being targeted and who's doing what with the ball, yards after catch and all that. So numbers change. And even though the game changes every year with certain rules, certain things about players go up in value. And for Ken Anderson, it would definitely be his durability. His durability was incredible. He very rarely missed a game. I think he missed some games early in his career, obviously because he wasn't yet ready for prime time, and then had one serious injury, which I believe might have been related to his shoulder. I cannot remember exactly, but except for that couple stretches like that, and at one point late, I think he was replaced. He was fighting off the throwing Samoan Jack Thompson. So he missed some games for those things, but durability is the one area that voters seem to neglect, and you just have to make them aware of it. So just, write your articles and write your letters, and if you can, find out who the Hall of Fame voters are, because if you write to them, they'll read it. I've never received a piece of mail from a reader that I didn't read. I mean, you'd be stupid not to read it. You're in the business of communication, so the idea is to get smarter and not get dumber. So just find out who the voters are and let them know what you think.
Great topics there, Tom. I know you had one more question before we want to be cautious.
Sneak this one in on you, John. One of the arguments we've heard from the voters for not voting for Ken, another one was, well, he was in a quarterback-friendly system. He was in the West Coast offense. Well, shouldn't he get credit with Paul Brown and Bill Walsh for perfecting the early stages of the West Coast offense, winning 2 passing titles under that in the 70s? And if you're going to make that argument, shouldn't he get credit for winning 2 more passing titles in the 80s? By fact, he's the only guy to win 2 passing titles in 2 different decades. But right. Under Lindy Infante, all due respect to Lindy Infante, but, really Ken himself was the offensive coordinator of those teams, had the most input for the offensive game plan and its execution and play calling. Are those viable arguments against those working against him?
They're definitely viable arguments. In fact, even Bill Walsh himself said the West Coast offense should be called the Cincinnati offense, because in his designing of it, right after Greg Cook went out and they got Ken Anderson from Augustana College, they started working on it, and Bill Walsh made Ken go through all the steps of a quarterback before he ever let him throw the ball, and just gradually worked him into it. And along with the idea of a West Coast offense, there's a tendency to kind of think of that as a shorter passing game. But as I say, if you look at Ken's numbers, yards per attempt, they definitely threw the ball downfield. And when you factor those things in together, that's the very definition of a Hall of Famer. So yeah, you're right. He should be credited with his involvement in the West Coast offense / Cincinnati offense, because again, they took him as a raw product out of Augustana, but to the Browns family credit, they recognized his ability, and Bill Walsh recognized very early, oh yeah, this guy's the real deal. We can win with him. And Bill knew his stuff. So when Pete Brown first went out there, I think he was the first one to see Ken at Augustana. I think Pete had another game, maybe in Chicago against involving the Notre Dame Irish. I think he went from there to Augustana, saw Ken play night game, loved what he saw, and let the other Bengals brass know about it. And Bill came to watch a game. I think even PB came to watch a game, and they knew right away. And I consider that to be rather remarkable because you're talking about a D3 athlete, and you got to be able to look at him not against his competition, but just how he sets up. What's he run like? How fast are his feet? How accurate is he? All these things that make a quarterback, and you have to be able to. This is hard to do. It's easy to watch a player against the best competition and know how he's doing, but to see him against such lesser competition and know this guy's a potential star is a great credit, to the Bengals and the Brown family. So to me, yes, his involvement in the West Coast offense should be integral to his being a Hall of Famer. No question about it. And by the way, Ken has all those early recordings, film recordings with Bill Walsh, showing how you turn a player into a really good quarterback, especially within that type of offense. And someday, Ken Anderson will probably do something with those tapes. He's probably a little too overwhelmed right now to do anything like that. But I think it's integral in the history of football. And to me, that's the other thing I would say about a player was where does he fit into the evolution of the game? And Anderson has a very secure place, again, because of the Cincinnati/West Coast offense is a evolutionary quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, John. Well, it means a lot you being with us tonight. I was happy as hell when you returned my call or my text to say you could be part of this tonight. It means a lot. The other thing too that we thought has been interesting, like we had getting videos from their peers that they played against that are in the Hall of Fame has been pretty powerful stuff. We've got probably 6 to 8 different Hall of Famers that played against Ken Riley that came out on video. We did interviews with, and we shared those with the voters. Dan Fouts late last year came out and did an interview with us, and Dan Fouts is really pounding the table for Kenny Anderson as well. So it's kind of cool to see some of these guys now able to come out and talk about, hey, there's no doubt in my mind as a Hall of Famer, Ken Anderson should be in the Hall of Fame. So to hear people like Dan Fouts say that is pretty powerful stuff as well.
Yeah, that's great stuff right there, because I think, when it comes from a fan or writer such as myself, there's a tendency to say, well, maybe the guy's a homer, whatever it may be. But when a player says it, especially someone of Fouts' stature, you got to listen to it. And I think voters do tend to give that more weight, and they probably should. I mean, numbers are one thing, but what your peers say about you is really important. And I think that if you had put Ken Anderson in front of the members of the Hall of Fame who were his peers, they would say definitely Hall of Famer. And that to me is something that's really worthy, because the peer evaluation process is the greatest one of all. And so, yeah, for Fouts to say that and for you guys to do that kind of work, that's wonderful. And that's exactly how you should approach it.
Yeah. Well, John, brother, we appreciate you being with us tonight. Thanks so much. When Kenny gets in officially, we're going to get together with Kenny and you, and we're going to have a couple beers.
Sounds great, man. Sign me up.
All right, bro. We appreciate you, John. Thanks for being with us, buddy.
Take care, fellas.
Thank you, John.
See you, buddy. Man, people that are watching right now may not understand. John is a Cincinnati writer. He's a legend in this town. So, Tom, we've read his stuff for many, many years. I know, man, but it was great to have him on.
No, that article was absolutely fantastic. I hope there is a way every voter gets to read that before the vote, and Kenny can work through the preliminary and get to the final, so somebody can present his case yet again. A couple changes this year that work against this cause is that the Hall of Fame has changed things up. In past years, we've had 3 seniors go in, and the reason for that was there was such a backlog. Well, last year the writers the nominating committee nominated somebody, Art Powell, who fine receiver, but certainly leapfrogged a bunch of guys that definitely would have gone in, and he didn't make it. So a spot was wasted. So I think the Hall looked at that problem, and they have meshed the contributors category and the coaches category in with the seniors. So there'll be 3 a year. But just as an example, if Bill Belichick doesn't get a job by January, he's eligible for the Hall of Fame next year. Coaches are eligible. So he'll go in. You're going to tell me they're not going to vote for him, right away? They're talking about Robert Kraft being the contributor to go in this year. And the media, the writers will get him in just so Belichick and he would have to be on the same stage together. So that would leave really one spot for a player. And, last year, there were some good guys with some very big media followings and their teams going, sickeningly overboard to get them in. So it's not going to be simple. So keep it up on social media. Make it as loud as possible. All Bengal fans need to unite together in this cause and put the word out that Ken Anderson deserves to go into Canton.
Yep.
The push, we got to keep the push on. I think the fans did a wonderful job helping get Ken in. Ken Riley, obviously Ken Anderson and Willie Anderson, who we really haven't even touched on tonight as well. So it's going to be interesting. I think, as we always say, just keep fighting a good fight, keep it positive, and let's keep the push. Social media, letters, like John said, whatever you can do in a positive way, let's keep it going. Tom, go ahead and closing remarks. What's your battery down to? 3% right now?
I'm good. I'm at 21. But no, thank you for everybody for tuning in. I know there can be an affliction on tough weeks when the team loses to go into a little bit of a shell. But no, let's keep it up. Let's keep positive. The whole season is Carolina. Let's worry about having a great Sunday, beating the Panthers, and then coming home after that. So, again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. There are so many ways you can get your Bengals news and discuss Bengals information with fans. It's a true honor that you choose to pick a little over an hour with us. Typically, we like to keep it an hour, but James was a little bit windy tonight. That's okay. But thank you so much for spending some time with us to talk Bengals football, and we will see you next Tuesday in Houday. Let's go get Carolina. James?
Speaking of Carolina, don't forget Saturday bar takeover. You do not need a ticket for that at Protagonist. Holy Angels will be our charity next week. Thank you to, I think there's a picture here. There's the picture. Trailer Park Floozies for performing for us pre-game last night at Paycor. And again, if you haven't got your tailgate tickets yet, do so. If you missed the beginning, proud that we are just under $100,000 for the year money raised. So we'll blast through that $100,000 mark this weekend in Charlotte, and what is it? Was it 3,500 from the $500,000 mark? So, and that's all because of you and your generosity. So thank you for that. And Jimmy, go ahead and close us out.
Yeah, just again, thanks to everybody for the being part of the Monday Night Football tailgate with the rain and the weather, and people were having so much fun out there. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing watching the fans have fun no matter what the weather was. It looks like the weather looks really good Saturday in Charlotte for the brewery takeover, and cross our fingers, it looks like even Sunday is going to be pretty good too. So the tailgate, I would tell you, I know I'm being a little repetitive what James just said. Make sure you grab your tickets, guys, for the tailgate. It looks like it's going to sell out. I mean, we got a ton of folks heading down there. I know we're 0-3. People had already had their plans made for this. They were making this trip, so there's going to be a boatload of people there. Just want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We love you guys. Let's get this dub against Carolina and Andy Dalton, and let's start the road to the playoffs and shock the world here at this point. But we love you guys. Houday, thanks for being with us.